Hey there, welcome to this full UkeGuide review of this instrument. This is the Tom AM3-C solid top mahogany concert ukulele. If you want to see the summary one-page document of this full review and not watch the whole thing, that's at my website at UkeStuff.info for free. Just look up the UkeGuide and look up this instrument. And I also have a 1-minute review of this instrument as well on YouTube if you'd like to watch it. In this video, we're going to look at subjective categories for the instrument, as I looked at with all the instruments. Then I'm going to look at specifications, and then I'm going to summarize the instrument and give it a UkeGuide rating out of 5 possible ukuleles. I do want to mention that this was sent to me for review purposes. I'm not being paid to review this instrument. However, since it was sent to me for review purposes, I do mark these videos as paid promotion. And if you want to support the work on this channel, there are 3 things you can do. First of all, you can like this video. Second, you can subscribe to this channel and the sister channel, so the UkeStuff channel and the Uke Play-Alongs channel on YouTube. And third, you can always buy me a cup of coffee to say thank you for making this content at www.buymeacoffee.com/UkeStuff. All right, let's begin with the subjective categories on this instrument. First of all, cost. Currently, as I'm recording this video, they are listed at $68.99 on Amazon. For value, this is a really good value for a solid top instrument. And you can tell that it's a solid top. I'll see if I can get close enough and let it focus in on it. You can see that that edge, which is not bound, it's solid. Whereas on the bottom, you can see that it's laminate. So it's a solid top, laminate back and sides. Nothing wrong with that. It's sort of a happy medium. Now, in winter conditions, you would still need to worry about humidifying this. Winter conditions where I live, where the humidity drops very low as the heat turns on in our houses. That season is about to come upon us actually this year. Whereas laminate instruments generally weather that, no pun intended, slightly better. But otherwise, you get more of the qualities of a solid wood instrument, or you should, than you would a pure laminate instrument. Some of the durability with some of the sound of a solid wood instrument. So with that solid top at that price point, that's an exceptional value. Now, how about the build quality? Overall, it looks very well put together. I have no complaints. I mean, the edges could be rounded some more, but it's not sharp. It's not going to hurt you. The inside build is really clean. We'll take a look at that in a minute. The neck, obviously there are neck joints here. So there's a joint down here that you can see, and there's a joint up here in the headstock you can see. It all blends together relatively well. It's sort of that modern appearance of a mahogany, not the super dark antique, but the lighter that people are using. The fretboard appears to be in good condition. It's a string through bridge. It all looks pretty good. It seems to be put together well. Let's take a look at the inside. I have an endoscope that I use to take a look at the inside of the instrument. It doesn't mean good or bad. It just lets you see the care with which an instrument is put together. So let's go inside and do this. There's your label there. And as we look back, and I'm moving my fingers into the sound hole to do this, you can see the strings popping through. You can see it. They have, I'm trying to see if they've got a bead tied on. It's hard to tell. You can see the back of the instrument there. It has bracing on the back, has bracing going down the front. And there's your bridge support plate. You have a tail block. Looks to be very cleanly built. There's not a whole lot of glue mess in there. Let's take a look at the upper bout. There's never as much room up here, but as you can see, there's your kerfing, your notch kerfing, no glue mess. There's your neck block. All in all, pretty well cleanly put together. And that's our quick look at the inside of the Tom AM3-C. All right, so no concerns about build quality here. Looks really well put together. Now, in terms of appearance, it's pretty plain. We do have a rosette around the sound hole, and that looks to be actually a wood rosette, not just a transfer sticker. That's nice. You've got a very standard pull-through bridge, and you have a dark, what appears to be rosewood fretboard up there, and sort of a tusk nut or a new bone nut and saddle up there. So otherwise, it's not quite a Canalea headstock. It isn't a crown, so it's kind of a different shape. That's pretty nice to see. You do have closed geared tuners up there, and it does come with strap buttons. And we'll talk about the strap buttons a little bit later when we talk about the whole package, because there's something really neat that comes with this one. At least I think so. So in terms of appearance, it's pretty plain. It's sort of got that more modern mahogany stain rather than the darker antique stain. In terms of availability, you can get these right now on Amazon if you want one. Now, in terms of playability, it's a standard 35mm nut with a really thick C-shaped neck. So in terms of construction, my one negative is that I wish this neck were thinner. It's really thick, even by the time you get to the 3rd fret, one of the thickest that I've measured, even with decent action. So the action here is almost perfect. There are no sharp fret ends because there is a bound fretboard, although the frets do get very close to it. So if you can see there is a binding on the fretboard as well. It's very minimal, but it's there. In terms of sound quality, this is my biggest functional issue with this ukulele. Now, it's going to be out of tune again because I was putting my fingers in the sound hole between the strings to get the camera in there. However, these are D'Addario titanium strings. I suspected as much, and I made sure at the company that it is, and they are. And I have to be honest, I'm not the world's greatest fan of the D'Addario titaniums. I've never played an instrument that I felt they were right for. Now, some people love those strings. You are welcome to your opinion. This is just my own personal opinion. I feel like they're too hard. They feel hard to me as a string. They don't hold their tuning well for me, even an instrument that's been played quite a bit like this one has since I received it. And I don't like the overall sound of the strings. Now, on a positive note, they do give you fluorocarbon strings as part of the kit. So if you don't like these, you could take them off. And with all sincerity, I'm going to be changing the strings on this one. I'll talk more about that later, at a later point. I'm probably going to order some Worth Browns for it. But as a result, I think this is mainly a string issue. The tone is thinner, almost brittle. And for a mahogany instrument, that's really strange because mahogany is usually sort of a warmer, fuller, sort of sound. And this is kind of brittle. It's bright, has a ton of sustain. So when I play this chord here with just moderate force, I'll count out 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It rings forever. So the sustain is there. There are overtones happening that are flying around. So there's qualities of the sound which are amazing, but it's that brittleness that just sort of surprises me. So with this instrument, if I'm just strumming, it sounds a little brittle, a little thin, whereas I think it does better job with picking. But again, I think that's string related. So for me, the sound gets a knock with the stock strings. That might change with different strings, but I'm not going to change strings just to review an instrument. The volume is pretty loud. I mean, it's got some volume. It's definitely more bright than dark. It does not sound like a standard mahogany instrument to me. So that's really my only concern with this instrument. Now, don't take my word for it. Let's play the instrument into Tonal Energy Tuner, which will let you see the harmonic energy, and you can see for yourself what's going on. Here we go. Still ringing, but it's not being picked up. If there was more depth to the tone, it would be amazing. So again, I need to try different strings and see if that makes a difference. Watch for a follow-up video with this instrument. I'm sure I'm going to do that. Now that we've looked at the subjective categories for the instrument, let's go into the specifications. It is a concert ukulele with a measured scale length of 14.9375 inches from nut to saddle. So just a little bit shorter than your standard concert. It has 18 frets with 14 to the body, and there are side position markers there. It is a double bout ukulele, upper bout, lower bout. The soundboard is made out of solid mahogany. The back and sides are laminate mahogany. The fretboard is rosewood, and it is bound, and the bridge is a rosewood bridge with a pull-through saddle configuration. It does not have a radius fretboard, and the nut and saddle appear to be tusk or new bone, one of the two, very similar materials. It is not a compensated saddle, so saddle straight across, and it's your standard satin finish with some open pore on the back, as you can see in the light there. The overall length is 23.3125 inches from the top of the headstock to the bottom of the instrument, not counting the strap button, and it weighs 1 pound, 1.4 ounces. It has closed geared tuners, which actually have the Tom logo on them. The action at the first fret is nearly ideal. It's 0.52 millimeters at the first fret, and the action of the 12th fret is also nearly ideal at 2.61 millimeters. So very, very good setup. The nut width is 3.49 millimeters, very standard 35 millimeter nut. And the string spacing at the first fret is also very common, 8.8 millimeters between each string, or 28.9 G to A. And as usual, if a person has really large hands, they might find this spacing too tight, but for many people used to import ukuleles, it's pretty standard. Now, the biggest criticism of mine physically of the instrument is the depth of the neck. It's 22.5 millimeters at the third fret from the top of the strings to the bottom of the neck, which is really quite chunky for an instrument with such a good setup. So I wish, again, that this neck didn't feel like half of a baseball bat, but instead was thinner, more of a D profile rather than a deep C. Now this would be a great time, as we're talking about specifications, to talk about what comes with the ukulele. You get a pretty decent gig bag. It's got embroidery on it, and it is padded, probably about 10 millimeters. It does have a little loop here of Velcro and stretchy elastic to hold your ukulele in there. The one negative for me really with the bag is it doesn't have a hanging tab there. I'd like to see that. The shoulder pads are padded, as is the handle, so it'd be nice to carry to convention. It would also be nice to see sort of a rubber pad on the bottom. It has a pretty decent size pocket, so you can carry the accessories that you need to carry. So overall, decent gig bag with a couple of areas that it could improve upon. The other things you get with the ukulele are extra fluorocarbon strings. I might try those as well, but I'd really like to try Worth Browns to see if that changes the tone. You get an ukulele slash guitar slash bass capo. I find these to be too big for ukulele use. I wish they included an ukulele capo. They include a cleaning cloth. That's great. They also include 3 plastic picks. I don't support the use of plastic picks with ukulele. I know that there are some professional players that use plastic picks, such as the Ukulele Orchestra of Great Britain. I get it. But for the average player, they're going to end up scratching and ruining their ukulele with hard plastic picks. Generally, you want to use felt or leather picks, and I wish those were included. You also get a manual, and as I open up the manual, the 4th pick came out, so I guess you get a pack of 4. And the manual is pretty well written. There's a couple of things that aren't translated quite right, but there is included videos that you can watch. You would get the gist with the material here if you want to follow this. It is actually an attempt to give you a full method introduction to the instrument. Now, the piece I'm most excited about is this. It's the ukulele strap. I recently reviewed a Tom polycarbonate ukulele, And my complaint was that it came with a clip strap, clip neck strap, sort of like a saxophone strap. Now, there are professional players who use those. Jake Shimabukuro, for example, uses a clip strap. So who am I to say what's good or bad ultimately, right? If Jake Shimabukuro uses it, shouldn't you? Not necessarily. If I'm teaching, I don't want to have to keep my hands on my instrument all the time so it doesn't roll off and hit the floor. So as a result, I like traditional straps, and I'll even use strap-ons on both ends so that I can put the strap on, and then I'll even put a rubber wash over the end so it can't pop off when I'm teaching. Well, this tom strap solves that problem, and I had complained about the neck strap. They reached out and said, well, we've got a solution for that, and I've got a full separate video coming about this strap. But ultimately, it sort of locks in. Not completely, but sort of. And what you do is you flip it up, it goes onto the strap button, you pull it tight, it locks down, and it really doesn't come off. Now it can, and I've had it slip off a couple of times, and it doesn't totally love the position of the strap button up here on the neck heel, which is where I put mine too. So it doesn't quite work so smoothly there, but it functions. And this is so much better than the clip strap that was included. I liked the idea. So when I recorded the video of this strap, I've already done that. I start off by saying I'm not sure how I feel. I think I like it. There are some things that could be done to improve it. I think somehow if there would be a way that they could make this area more flexible on the neck end so that it could move more somehow. I don't know if that's possible, but I do love a company that's responsive to criticism and says, yeah, we've got another solution for that. They didn't take it the wrong way, and they're including this, and I think this is 100 times better than the clip strap that you'd get that would go into the sound hole. However, I think there is great benefit being able to use a strap and not have to hold on to your ukulele all the time. So that's the other part that comes with it. I like that a lot. All right, now that we've talked about the subjective categories and specifications, let's summarize the instrument and give it a UkeGuide rating out of 5 possible ukuleles. Tom is re-entering the United States market. It had left for a while. It had been imported by somebody else. I actually use a tom ukulele on a regular basis with baby baritone strings on it. So they said, we've been working on our instrument. We'd like to have you review it. I said, I'm happy to do that. And that is why this video is marked as a paid video. Not that I'm paid to review, but because this instrument was sent to me for review purposes. The overall package you get here is pretty amazing for the price. You get a solid top mahogany instrument that's really cleanly made with a decent gig bag, a good strap, strap buttons, extra strings, and then a method book that's pretty decent, and then some things that really still are, like a guitar capo, which can be used, but it's not my preference, and then plastic picks. But all in all, for basically $70 to get a solid top instrument with those extra things is pretty phenomenal in value. Now, the negatives for me are really only 2 things. One is the deep C-shaped neck. It's really deep. It's very C-shaped, more than usual. And second would be the tone quality. It's brittle. It's brittle. And I think that is string related. The problem is I can't review an instrument based upon changing strings. Now, strings are consumable. You're going to replace your strings. You don't buy an instrument for the strings, and if you like certain strings, you can put them on your instruments. I think a standard fluorocarbon, like the ones that come with the tom, might be better, but I'm really hoping for a warmer sound to go along with the amazing sustain here and the overtones that are there. So if warmer Worth Brown strings can do that, that's what I want to see. So yeah, I think it is a great value. I don't think it's anything to be avoided just because of the tone issue. We'll find out with different strings what changes there. So I would definitely recommend it. What rating would I get it? Right now, it's the sound issue that's keeping me back. There's nothing I can do to change the shape of the neck. but the sound issue, I think strings will do it. So with that in mind, I'm going to give this instrument a 4 out of 5 possible ukuleles. Now, if the sound doesn't change, it'd be a 3.5, but I think it will. I'm pretty sure it's the D'Addario titaniums that are causing the issues that I don't really like with the sound of this instrument. I'd like to thank Tom for sending me this instrument for review purposes, and I'd like to thank you for watching the video. I hope you're having a great day, and I'll be back soon with some more Uke stuff for you.